G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another blueprint update video slash ship inspiration video. So in this video, basically what I'm going to show you is some of the changes that I've made to the Atlas heavy transport. So I've got two blueprints here. The one directly in front of me is the original blueprint, and the one next to it is basically the updated version. So I had thought about doing all of these changes on camera, but the episode probably would have been about 4, 5, maybe even 6 hours long. So I kind of wanted to condense that all down into one video. So I'll just before we get started with all the changes that I've made, I'll just kind of go through what the purpose of this ship actually is. So obviously this ship was mainly built so that I could transport ores, I could transport ice, I could transport many different materials from planet to planet, and yeah, basically just a cargo ship. So it can carry about 3.6 million kilos. It has 8 jump drives, so it's definitely capable of going in between planets, and yeah, it can basically hold a lot of cargo. The other thing I wanted this ship to be able to do was store some mining ships. So to that end, I basically built a hangar in the front of it, and you can see that I have room for 2 mining ships here. And then when you're out in space, I put a connector up the top here so that you can basically dock up here, drop off the ores, and then go back out and mine some more materials. Yeah, it does have probably a little bit too much space if you were using it for that kind of purpose, but yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and let's get started, and let's look at the changes that I've made to this other ship beside it. So one of the first things I wasn't really happy with on this ship was the front end of it. I never really liked this transition here and kind of this really pointy nose that I had, and then also these thrusters here, it kind of all just looked really flat and really boring. So anyway, to that end, this is what I have redesigned. So you can kind of see here that I've used a lot of these new blocks that they've added to the game. So the light armor sloped corner, the sloped corner light armor tips, and obviously these are just the regular 2x1 blocks. So yeah, I think that's made it look a little bit more nicer. And then also what I've done is I've changed these blocks here to the light armor inverted corner tips, whereas over here they were just literally the 45-degree angles. And you can kind of see that there's a lot of sharp edges here, and the transition isn't really that great. So yeah, I think I've made it look a ton better, but yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. And then also what I've done is, to try and reduce that point, what I've done is I've actually rounded the front end quite a lot. So if we look at it from this angle, you can see that this point here, it doesn't really fit with the rest of the design of the ship, whereas I find that this more closely resembles the rest of the ship. So I think it fits in a lot nicer than what this version does. The only thing is that to create this kind of a curve, I've had to use 45-degree angle blocks, and this side here doesn't really match up with that side there like it does on this version. But I think overall it's definitely a lot better design. And you can see here that I've used light armor corner bases, tips, and light armor inverted corner tips. Then I've gone to the 45-degree light armor corners, and then I've gone back to the same blocks that were on this side but inverted, and then back to 45-degree angles. And that's kind of how you can make a curve. So yeah, you can kind of see that it's not a perfect curve, but it's kind of close enough. And yeah, as I said before, I have made good use of these blocks here. And to try and break it up a little bit and maybe give it a little bit more thrust, even though I didn't really need it, I've decided to add in 2 thrusters on either side. These what are they, the sci-fi ion thrusters, and then I've added some spotlights here as well. And then tucked away in here I have my buttons for my door panel, whereas the buttons used to be like that and it didn't look the greatest. The second thing I've done as well is this door here was always kind of like a manually operated door. So the other thing that I've done as well is I've made this like kind of a automatic door, as well as having these buttons here. So if we approach the door, then you can see that the door opens for us. But I have a sensor on each side, so basically the function of this sensor here is to set these air vents to depressurize, and the function of this sensor here is to set these doors to open and close. Now the range of this sensor is less than the range of that sensor, so basically the idea is that the door will close. So if I go to about here, you can see that the sensors for the air vents, you can see that the air vents are still blue, which means they are still set to depressurize, and then the door closes, and then if I move forward a little bit more, you can see that they pressurize the room. So yeah, I've changed that. I've changed the side here quite a bit as well, so I've made good use of these light armor sloped corner blocks, which is these ones here. So, you know, basically all the new blocks that they've added into the game. I'm really enjoying using these blocks. I think it just makes the game so much better. So yeah, I've used quite a bit of them throughout this build, and yeah, anyway, let's carry on. Oh yeah, and you can kind of see I've added some control panels here on either side. So one's the hangar doors and one's the air vents. I really do like these one button panels that they've added, and I've changed this wall up here a little bit, and then also I've run some conveyors up to the roof so that I can install some additional Gatling turrets on the roof. So let's exit back out of this again. So yeah, as I said before, I've added some extra Gatling turrets on the roof, whereas on this design I wasn't really able to put them there. And I don't know, I just figure the more guns the better. You can never have enough firepower, right? So yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, the other thing that I've done as well is I have changed the location of these Gatling turrets here, and I've moved them one back from the previous design. And I've also been able to move them, these Gatling turrets that were previously here, as you can see on this design over here, I have moved them back to about here. Now I did have to play around internally quite a bit, so what I'll do is I'll bring up my spectator camera and I'll kind of give you an idea of how I've done that. So previously we used to, the turrets used to sit there, so you would basically go straight downwards, and underneath this block there would be a conveyor, and then that would be connected to this conveyor here. But instead what I've done is I've kind of run this conveyor here this way. Actually no, I've put a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle conveyor there. Then I've run this conveyor underneath here and then through this room here and then around and then up. So by doing that I've been able to move this Gatling turret, and it isn't really any more functional than it was before, but I think it just looks 10 times better. So I definitely think that's a win. And yeah, so I'll just place this block back that I deleted, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so, and then obviously I've just added in some interior walls just to give it a little bit more detail. Alright, so the next thing is I have kind of changed this area as well. So this is obviously the new design, and then if we go over here and have a look, this is the old design. So you can see that none of the blocks really fit together very well, and all the new blocks that they've added to the game have basically made it a lot easier to make this all fit together and look really nice. So you can see there that it's, yeah, I think it looks a lot better. So that's the new and this is the old. And as you can see, the problem was pretty much the same as the front, where it was just kind of really flat and boring. So again, what I've done is I have changed these blocks here to these blocks here, and then I've added these 3 blocks here like that, and yeah, I think that makes it look a lot better as well. The other thing that I really wasn't happy with on the old design was where I had placed the door. So you can kind of see that I have a sensor just kind of sticking out in the middle of nowhere, and it just looks ugly as heck. So to that end, I have basically redesigned it to look like this. So I have deleted a couple of these blocks here, so those ones there, and I've replaced it with this block here, which is the light armor inverted corner 2x1x1 base. And yeah, so I think that makes it look a lot better. And then on top of that, I've basically placed one of the new blocks, which is this one here, the sloped corner light armor tip. And then from there I've basically added these blocks here. So this one here, the sloped armor tip. So yeah, I think that makes it look a lot better. Yeah, so as I was saying, you can kind of see that it looks a little bit more robust here. And thanks to the new Frostbite update and these extra doors, I've basically been able to add these doors. And then what that's allowed me to do as well is create an extra block worth of space here, so that then I can fit the sensor internally. You can kind of use scripts to open and close your doors behind you for airlocks, but I'm not sure why. I just prefer to use sensors to do that for me. So yeah, there is that. Yeah, obviously you don't have to use sensors, but I just find it a lot easier for myself. But I guess scripts are pretty easy as well, but well, it's all up to personal preference. And the good thing about using sensors is that this blueprint can be used on Xbox very effectively. So if we go across and we have a look at this area next to the main reverse engines, you can kind of see that I have repeated the design that's on the front here, and I've just repeated that design here. I've also changed these blocks here, so you can see that these are the new blocks, the light armor sloped corner base, the sloped corner light armor tip, and yeah, the light armor sloped corner. And whereas over here I've just kind of used the light armor slope bases and tips. So yeah, I think that makes it look a lot better as well, a lot more rounded, and yeah, just looks better. And then obviously we have a little bit of detail there, just an extra block. And then similarly what I've done, I'll just give you a look at the old version. So this is the old version and this is the new version. So yeah, I think that looks a lot better. And then the other thing that I really wasn't happy with was this roof up here. So you can kind of see that there was no real blocks to kind of transition from these blocks here to these blocks here in a nice clean manner without having, yeah, so that was kind of the best I could do with the old design. But now since they've added the new blocks into the game, and more specifically this block here, this one single block has allowed me to clean up this design a ton, so I think it looks a lot better. Alright, so let's move on to the back and I'll show you that as well. So obviously this part here is the same as the front, and I've updated that as well. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, this is what the other side looks like, and this is what the new version looks like. All this stuff has kind of remained the same. The back end I have changed quite a bit. So mainly what I've changed, I've left this area kind of the same. So you can kind of see that this area on the old ship is the same. But one thing I really wasn't happy with was this really flat and boring area, and this flat and boring area too as well. So what I've tried to do is try and replicate this kind of I'm not sure what you would call it, but I've tried to replicate that up here on the new design, which you can kind of see here. So obviously we have a bit of a cutout there, and then we have another bit of a cutout there with a bit of a step. And then I've been able to use the new blocks here to then shallow out this angle here, because you can see here it's a little bit steep, especially here on this side. So yeah, I think the profile of that makes it look a lot better. I think that is about all of the changes that I have made to the top of the ship. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of run through the bottom of the ship. So we'll start here as well. So obviously with the addition of the new blocks, I've been able to redesign this area here to more closely follow this line here. So you can see on this ship, it's kind of a little bit of a jagged edge here, whereas on this new one you can see that I've changed that up a little bit. It's a very minor change, but I think, you know, it also makes it look a lot better as well. Now, on the old design, you can see that I was struggling to kind of transition between these blocks and these blocks here. But obviously with the addition of the new blocks, I've been able to add these blocks here and kind of clean up that transition, and I think it makes it look a lot nicer. And then also with the addition of these blocks, I've been able to fill in these gaps in between the hydrogen engines as well. And then you can kind of see that on the old design, I had nothing here, so you can kind of just fly straight up here. And then also one thing I've changed, which isn't really a cosmetic thing, but is more like of a weight saving thing. You can see in here that I have a lot of interior blocks, and what I've tried to do is change a lot of the blocks in there to interior walls, because interior walls are lighter than light armor blocks. So if you're trying to save yourself a little bit of weight, then that is one way that you can do that. So yeah, I've gone ahead and done that because I've added a fair few blocks to the ship, and I wanted to kind of save myself some weight at the same time as actually adding more blocks to it to make it look better. So, and I've definitely been able to achieve that. And then also, if we have a look on the bottom, you can kind of see that these Gatling turrets are nicely positioned, whereas on the old design, again, it was very similar to the top, where the Gatling turrets were kind of in the way of this ribbing structure. So I've been able to move them back to about there on the new design, and then kind of maintain my ribbing. And then also what that's allowed me to do is add these two additional thrusters here. Now, if we go to the front a little bit and we have a look at this area, you can see that, you know, I got quite a nice transition going on here. But then if we go and have a look at the old version, much of this from that point onwards is the same, but everything else apart from that has been changed probably from this point onwards. So that's the old design, and then that's the new design. So I think with the addition of these new blocks, I've once again been able to transition this quite nicely and, you know, follow this curve here. And then I've also been able to do that very effectively with the front as well. So you can see here, this is the old design, and none of these blocks really match up with each other. And this is the new design here, where I've been able to match everything up and make it look all nice. And then, yeah, you can kind of see that I've increased this angle here a little bit from here, where it was, so it just kind of goes all the way along there like that. And I think that was about it for the bottom. So, and then obviously you can see that I have changed a lot of the thrusters to the new ion thrusters that have been added to the game as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you basically the inside, and some of the minor changes that I've made to the inside as well. So this is the old bridge, and you can kind of see that the bridge and the CIC are kind of joined together as well, and we have this kind of boring flat area at the back. So now if I go into the new ship, I'll show you what I've done in that one. So as we enter into the bridge, you can see that we immediately greeted with this structure here. So what this is it's kind of like, it's a sealed area that seals in the air from the bridge and the CIC. And what I've done is I've added some vents into the corners here. And so that means that the bridge is now completely sealed compared to the other ship where it wasn't completely sealed. I've also gone ahead and I've added some transparent LCDs so that when we sit in the cockpit and we change our view, you can see that I've got my fuel, my speed, and the artificial horizon. So yeah, I think that looks a little bit nicer. The other thing that I had to do was kind of move this control seat one block over that way to fit all this in, and then just move one of these lights. But that's kind of just like minor details. And then if we head down here and we go and have a look, I've also added a remote control block to this blueprint, and then I've changed these interior walls up a little bit. So then if we head on through to this side, in fact I'm probably going to use the spectator camera just so I can kind of jump through the ships a little bit quicker. So I will show you the old design here and then we'll go from there. So this is basically the old room, and this room basically sits on top of the jump drives and is directly in front of the CIC here. So we basically head down these doors and then down a set of stairs, and you can kind of see that it's kind of like a conference room slash jump drive control room, and I have a blueprint of a solitary jump drive there, just as, I don't know, just as a bit of decoration. And you can see these LCD walls here, they change every 10 seconds I believe it is. And then if we go over to the new version of the ship, you can see that I've changed up the room a little bit, and obviously you can see the tubes that connect to these Gatling guns are poking through the walls now. And I've moved the wall one block further back, and I've also changed these blocks on the side here to those blocks just so that this wall here is just a little bit thicker and it gives the ship a little bit more protection. But you know, being light armor, it isn't really, yeah, it's not lathered in protection, so I guess every little bit helps, but yeah, it's not really massively protected. And then also here I've changed the button panel that was for the projector to this new one that they added. I've changed this design here, these blocks slightly, and then I'll just give you a look at the CIC of this ship. So this is basically the CIC. I got a lot of inspiration from this CIC from the Battlestar Galactica TV series, and if you remember the Pegasus where they had like kind of the CIC with the glass panels that would kind of rotate and open, yeah, that's basically the look that I was kind of going for in this design. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool, and I haven't changed this at all from the old design, because that was one of the things that I was actually extremely happy with when I first built this ship. So what I'll do is I'll head down into the engineering section. So I've changed this area just a tiny bit. I've replaced a lot of the flooring with interior walls, because again, what I'm trying to do here is save on a bit of weight and try and save, you know, because I've added a lot more blocks to the design, so I'm trying to save a bit of weight here. And then if I jump into my spectator mode, I'm going to go to the other ship and we'll kind of have a look at the engineering section of the old design. So if we go through the wall here, so yeah, you can kind of see down there that this is all regular armor blocks, and this is a really ugly looking corner. If I change back to my character, you can kind of see that I've changed it to this nice design. Unfortunately, there's not much I can really do about this conveyor because of the fact that this is my hydrogen engine that's sitting at the back, so not much I can really do there. So we're just going to have to live with that conveyor sitting there. But yeah, I think overall the rest of it looks pretty good. I've also gone ahead and I've changed the color of all these catwalks, because as you can see in the old design they were black, but if we have a look at this design, they're all grey, and I think it fits in a little bit better. Yeah, I think it just, yeah, suits it more. I haven't really changed too much here. I've basically just left this button panel, except for the fact that I've updated it to the new button panel that they added in, I think it was Sparks of the Future update. Then if we head back through here, you can kind of see that this is sort of the rear med bay. So we have a med bay here, got a shower, and then over this side we have a toilet, and then we've got a few cryo chambers. This room hasn't changed whatsoever. That's pretty much exactly the same as it was in the last ship. And then here you can basically see this is kind of the food court slash, I can't remember what you call it, but yeah, I mean, you get the idea. This is basically where people sit down to eat. It's a bit of a role-playing thing, but you don't need to have that sort of stuff, but I just kind of wanted to add it because it was a spare space that I had left over, and yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. Over here again, I've changed these blocks here to this color, and if I go to the old design, You can kind of see in the corners here, I wasn't able to put catwalks down because I had this button panel, but because I've actually been able to get rid of that button panel and then incorporate the buttons that were on there into this button panel here, then what that's allowed me to do is basically clean up this edge a little bit and just add in this additional catwalk. And then if we work our way up the stairs, I've added in some sci-fi interior walls. I've put like a little corner piece here, and then I've done the same over this side as well. So if we head down these stairs and we go over to, where was it? Oh yeah, that's right, it was here. So here I've added a little bit more of an interesting shape as well, whereas if we go and have a look at the old design, it's very square, bland and boring, and then obviously we just have our straight walls. So yeah, I mean that's in an attempt to make the ship a little bit lighter, but then also make it look a little bit better as well. So we'll go back to my character in the new ship and we'll continue the tour. And then obviously this area here I changed up a little bit as well. So you can see I've kind of added in these tubes, whereas in the old design it was basically these conveyors, and I really wasn't liking that look. So this is the old design and then this is the new design. So old and new, old and new. So I think the new looks quite a bit better. Yeah, let me know what you think. So let's continue on and let's head on through this area. So also one of the other things I did was I changed up this area quite a bit. So I'll grab my spectator camera that's sitting in the other ship, and then you can see like I've changed up this area a bit. So I've basically added a little slope here, and then here I've kind of filled in the roof, whereas in this design the roof was basically these steel catwalks, and you could see that there was like a little gap here, and although it was airtight, it was still kind of bothering me. So I decided to basically fill it in with these interior walls here, and I think that looks pretty good. And then also on the floor here you can see that I have a catwalk, whereas in the old design I had a window. So yeah, I've basically changed the window to a catwalk just because I think it looks a bit cooler. And then if we head on inside here, you can see I have my cargo containers, and then one of the cargo containers can actually be accessed in this little hallway here. It was kind of the only place I could do that, so yeah, I just had to kind of live with that. And then we make our way through the front, and then this brings us to the room where the frontmost hydrogen tank room. Now when I originally designed this ship, this was before they made all the changes with the hydrogen, and they increased the capacity of hydrogen tanks and the output of O2H2 generators and things like that. So this ship in total has about 26 large hydrogen tanks, which is pretty overkill nowadays. But yeah, if I bring my spectator camera through the front here, the only thing I've really changed is basically this area here. So you can see this is the new design, old, new, old, new. Yeah, so that's pretty much the only thing that I've changed in this portion of the ship. And I'll probably end up recoloring these tanks to this color here, so this color like that. So I'll probably end up doing that because I think the tanks look better being that color. It just fits with the build a little bit more. So yeah, there's that. And then once you work your way down those stairs, and we work our way up these stairs, walk through this door, and this is basically where some more gyroscopes are stored. And you might have spied some of the gyroscopes, so I'll just show you where the rest of the gyroscopes are. So basically they're sitting up here. So remember how we went up these stairs next to the assemblers, and you can kind of see that the gyroscopes are hanging upside down on that roof there. Well, the other gyroscopes are basically in the floor here, and this hasn't really changed from the last design, but yeah, it's basically where they are. And then if we head on through this, I have like kind of another little med bay, and basically just 2 cryo chambers, and that's about it here. yeah, that's pretty much everything that's in this room. So I believe that is kind of it for this ship. And then obviously if we work through these doors here, then we are back into the hangar. And the other thing that I've changed as well is I've decided to put some graded catwalks here and on that side there as well, just to kind of fill it in a little bit. In fact, I need to get rid of that block and change it on this side as well, but that's something I can clean up a bit later. So we'll just head on back outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load both of these blueprints. Well, I guess this blueprint here is already on the workshop. So this is called the Atlas Heavy Transport Ship Mark 1, and I will call this one the Mark 2, and I'll leave a link in the video description for both of these ships so that you can check out all the changes yourself. And I don't think I missed anything, but yeah, you can get more of an idea of what I've actually done to update each ship and how I've made it look better. Anyway guys, I hope that video was inspirational for you and it gives you a little bit of inspiration on how to design your ships and some things you can do to make it kind of look better. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to end the video there. Thanks very much for watching guys. If you like this video, definitely consider leaving us a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss any more content. Thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.